On April 25th, the Peace and Justice Center of Eastern Maine presented the 21st Annual Hope Festival. The Hope Festival was started to celebrate Earth Day, a day dedicated to creating a sustainable Earth through peace and justice. As the banners hanging above proclaimed, there were many there to support peace, the environment, sustainability, health care, social security, education, and all with compassion. The festival was opened with a talk about Indigenous rights and a prayer by Penobscot, Maria Girouard, and other tribal members. Later on, many heard from Jim Merkel, a former member of the military-industrial complex turned sustainable environmentalist. The Voices of Peace Choir and Engineer Without Borders member Robert Sikowski on developing water resources for the neglected and others. Dozens of activists were at tables to talk about the many elements that make up peace and justice. There was also a farewell ceremony for Mark and Marty Kelly.
And we also want to remember Arnie Neptune, who for many years brought the blessing to the beginning of this Peace Festival, this Hope Festival, and I know that Arnie's spirit is with us today, without doubt. We also have with us, and I'm very pleased to bring her to you at this time, Maria Girouard of the Penobscot Nation. She's a historian, environmental activist, and peace activist and advocate. She is the founder of Dawnland Environmental Defense, an alliance for Native and non-Native people who stand united in protection of the Dawnland. She works for Maine Wabanaki Reach, that's reconciliation, engagement, advocacy, change, and healing, as a health and wellness coordinator and community organizer. REACH is the organization that conceptualized and implemented the precedent-setting Maine Wabanaki State Child Welfare Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Recently, she was awarded, yes. Recently, Maria was awarded the Mary Ann Hartman Award, which many of you are familiar with, I'm sure, which recognizes outstanding contributions by Maine women. And we are so pleased and proud to have her with us to help get this festival underway and issue a challenge to activism. Maria?
I greeted you in Penobscot, our ancestral language, and the language indigenous to this territory where we now gather. I said hello and welcome. It is good to see you all, or more literally, the phrase is, you are pleasing to the eye. So I have the great honor of welcoming you all to the 21st Annual Hope Festival. And speaking of hope, as a historian and a peace activist, and a Penobscot steeped in the traditional teachings of my ancestors, I personally find this period of time in which we find ourselves living a period of great hope. Our ancestors had been anticipating this period of time, and some of the elders have referred to this period of time in which we are now living as the Great Healing. And many ancient civilizations have referenced this period in time in which we all now find ourselves living. So, I guess we can say that we're living in prophetic times and that we all get to be part of it. I spilled water on this before I came up. So there's a set of ancient prophecies called the prophecies of the seven fires. And these prophecies very accurately predicted all the various eras or epics that we would endure together on this planet. And the seventh fire of the seven fires prophecies describes a time when the waters would run bitter with disrespect, and when the seas would turn black. The fish would become too unfit to eat. I said the fish would become too unfit to eat. So it seems that we've arrived in that time now. But it's not a time to despair, because an eighth fire is possible. An eighth fire is prophesized, but it's up to all of us to do everything that we can to make that happen, to identify our common grounds and our common waters and work together for the good of all. So we're not going to get that eighth fire lit by fighting one another or remaining fearful in an old paradigm that no longer fits us. We're not going to light that eighth fire by standing by idly and watching life happen before us. No, it's not a spectator sport. Penobscot people have very serious issues afflicting us right now, and afflicting all of us, actually. First, we have a U.S. District Court case against our own state government, who all of a sudden in 2012 asserted that the ancient Penobscot Indian Reservation did not consist of any portion of the water. This, despite the fact that our reservation consists of over 200 islands. We also have the ongoing looming threat of an east-west industrial corridor that would decimate our hunting, fishing, and gathering grounds. It would decimate a lot of sacred grounds here in Maine. Most recently, our state government pushed the federal EPA to have jurisdiction over water quality in Indian Territory. They sued for that control of water quality. So when the EPA granted the state of Maine authority over water quality in Indian Territory in accordance with the Maine Indian Claims Settlement Act, the EPA also told the state of Maine that the water isn't sufficient for sustenance fishing rights and that they needed to clean up that river. But instead of the state wanting to clean up the Penobscot River, they are instead suing, again, the EPA for their right to continue to pollute. So the fish have become unfit to eat. As the indigenous peoples of this territory, Penobscot people and Wabanaki people have a sacred, inherent responsibility to protect our territory. And we invite you all to stand with Penobscot people, with Wabanaki people, on the side of clean water, on the side of respect for Wabanaki people's inherent right to fish, and on the side of peaceful and respectful government-to-government relationships and people-to-people relationships. In closing, I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes. Arnie Neptune was just referenced earlier, and this is one of his many great-grandfathers, old John Neptune, who was a Penobscot chief at the turn of the 19th century. And he said, "Peace is good. These my Indians know it well. They smile under its shade. The white man and the red man must always be friends, because the Great Spirit is the creator of all of us." So let's imagine a better way of living and being in the world. Let's imagine a world where we're living in right relationship to the water, to nature, to each other. And let's get that eighth fire started. I'm very honored to be joined today by the Mama Gesso singers here, my leading ladies. Mama Gesso in Penobscot means butterfly. And the butterfly, of course, is the symbol of new birth, of new beginnings, and awakening. So we're going to sing for you the Penobscot Welcome Song. We won.
Now I present to you once again for the 10th year the Hope Festival singers, comprised largely of Voices for Peace.